E360 TV proudly presents Messages of Inspirational Stories TV show. Live streaming now to millions of devices around the world on Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook live streaming. Our shows are available video on demand on these channels. And we broadcast daily, Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time on these channels. On Mondays, Expanding Your Business. Tuesdays, Finding Health Naturally. Wednesdays, Mentoring Our Youth. Thursdays, Pets We Love. And on Fridays, Women in Leadership. Brought to you by our producers and hosts, Jim Grant and Donna Guinois. Along with our host, Beata Severin Reed and Emerson Brantley. Supported by our admin team of Michaela Vidal and Gaia Guinois Balconi Weda. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. The Messages of Inspirational Stories is proudly brought to you by the good guys at the 6minutewebinar.com and also by Mr. Bill Heinrich's book, The 7 Levels of Truth. We are so happy to be here today. Our guest is Mr. Rennie Gabriel. He'll be talking to us. So he's going to be sharing some facts and figures with us, some of the number stuff on real estate. Last week, Rennie was on and he shared how to properly evaluate the true value if you're looking to buy like an apartment building. You might recall there was like 7%, 7% there. And that particular 7% would be equivalent to telling the potential buyer of that real estate that if I take that same amount of money and put it into a savings account, it would draw whatever that interest is, 7%, whatever. And I'm not doing a real good job explaining that. So therefore, I'm going to invite Rennie to the stage and let him clean it up. Hey, sir, how you doing today?
I'm doing terrific, Jim. So good to see you. And
one
of the things I kept meaning to talk about is I can pronounce one of the names almost, and it's Gita. She's got a lot of names. She must have had wealthy parents.
Oh, the lady at one behind her scenes there, the admin?
Yeah.
Gaia. Gaia.
Yeah, with Gaia with a bunch more names. Like I said, She must have had wealthy parents because they gave her a lot of names.
Oh, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I tell you, it's a challenge trying to say all those names there without getting your tongue wrapped around your eye tooth, that's for sure. Gaia Guinois Balconi Weda. But
anyway,
she's
we spoke about some formulas on an earlier broadcast,
right?
And I realized it might be helpful for some of the folks watching and listening to be able to get that, and if they want to have it all on one sheet, what I'll do is have a landing page set up with an autoresponder. They can send an email, request it, and then it'll automatically download, which is the net operating income, the gross GRM, gross rental GRM. Isn't that great? My mind is going blank.
It's catchy for me, brother.
Oh, yeah, apparently. I doubt that. Anyway, it's got all the formulas on there. And maybe what I should have done is had that up on my computer so I'd remember them. GRM, gross rent, market, gross rent. Oh my gosh. I'm just worried about my own mental health here. Anyway, so all the formulas are on one sheet, how to do it. And like I said, since I failed high school math, people need to understand that these are really simple formulas. It's nothing more than division or addition. And, the formulas don't work for me if they're complicated. When I see those things on a chalkboard with little small numbers in the corner and brackets and parentheses. It's sort of like, I am completely lost. This is, you put a big number on the bottom, a small number on the top, and you get a percentage. And
there you go.
we're going to see that when we talk about the cap rate, which we spoke about last time. And so anyway, we're going to delve into the numbers. And if you want, why don't we start by showing people what a rent roll looks like? Because I know that you created some slides to do that.
Yeah, let's see here. Rent roll. Let's see here. Let me just, I believe it's this one here.
That's it. It is that one, the one that says rent roll.
Oh.
All right.
It was real hard to read that little print there, though.
Yeah, but what we've got here is something that lists each individual apartment. Now, I deleted the tenants' names because that's no one's business who's watching this. And as a matter of fact, I signed a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, which says I'm not going to share any information about a particular property to the public because this is private information. So I'm not talking about the address of this property, what state this property is in, or anything else. Bottom line, they've got 10 apartments. It shows you the lease start date, the lease end date, and the monthly rent for each of them. And here are the important takeaways from this rent roll. You look at the dates on when people started, and we'll look at the second one down, and we'll compare the first and the second. So the first one was leased just this past January, and it's only a 6-month lease. So these are short term, and the monthly rent is $1,395. Now, that doesn't mean a whole lot all by itself. What you need to know is what 1-bedroom apartments in this general area usually rent for. And since this just rented, I'm going to say that's a reasonable rent for this area. The next one shows that it was started in June of 2022, which was a year ago. It expires this July. So this is a 1-year lease, and it's $1,125. The difference between those two figures is $270 a month. So somewhere around $250, $255 a month, you could expect to get rent increases on each of the 2 bedrooms when these leases expire. And that increases what your total rents would be. What you'll notice is there are 3 more 2-bedroom apartments. One is at $1,125, another one is $1,025, and one is $1,095. What this is saying is, my gosh, there are about 4 apartments where I can have the rent increased by about $255 a month, which is $1,020 a month for those 4, which in a 12-month period, hopefully I'm not losing anyone, is $12,240 a year. Well, okay, that's nice. We've increased our rents by over $12,000 a month. What does that mean to the value of the building? We spoke about how the value of an apartment building is different than how you value a house. There's a lot of them, the emotional components to the value of the house, the landscaping, the painting, the neighborhood, all those kinds of things, the layout, the floor plan. With the apartment building, you have your gross rent multiplier, GRM, and your gross rents. So the gross rents are establishing what this building would sell for. And if I increase the gross rents, the GRM, let's say it's a factor of 10, I've increased the rents by $122,000 when I multiply that out. So I've got my $12,000 a month times 10, $122,000 for my gross rent multiplier. I have now increased the value of the building from rents alone by $122,000. If I purchase this building for $1.9 million, it is now worth over $2 million. And I haven't had to do anything to the building other than increase the rents. So that's a look at the rent roll and what we're dealing with. So you'll look at the start dates, you look at the lease end dates. Are they 6 months? Are they a year? What are the differences between the older leases and the newer ones? And we determined I could add $122,000 of value to this building. And there are 4 tenants. I can increase the rents by about $250 a month. So that's the rent roll. Okay. Now let's look at the operating statement.
Okay. Is that the one we got? I got that one too, huh?
Yeah, that's the one I got to you where I have my scribbles on it because.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me work my magic here, folks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while Jim is doing that, I'm going to say the advantage to looking at the operating statement is you want to have more than a few months worth. What was provided to me was 24 months of operating statements. I was able to see the progression in the rents. I was able to see the property taxes. I was able to see the expenses up and down and things of that nature, which is very valuable. One of the most important things we spoke about last time was the cap rate. And this building says that if you look at the purchase price and your net operating income, which is $130,000, so you've got your gross rents, you've got your expenses, you subtract the expenses from the gross rents, you got $130,000 a year. That's nice. Dividing that by the purchase price of the building gives you 6.7%, meaning if I bought this building for all cash, I would be getting 6.7% on the money I spent to buy this building after operating expenses are subtracted from my gross rents. Now, on the sheet that the broker provided, he said the cap rate was 6.7%. I just confirmed what he said based on the net operating income and dividing the purchase price. So what the broker said was the cap rate turns out when I dissect the numbers to be the cap rate, which is nice because there oftentimes the broker is saying one thing, you get the expense reports, you get the income reports, and when you crunch the numbers, it might not match up. The other thing is that one of the things that's noticed on this is the last date of the operating statement is 4 months ago. When you are serious about a purchase like this, you will get all of the current information as well, and you'll want to see if there are any major variations or discrepancies with what happens in the last 4 months. Now, the only reason this is 4 months old is because apparently no one else has offered to buy it. He didn't have to update anything. And therefore, you've got a 24-month trailing expense and income statement that's 4 months old. Not a big deal because what I noticed is the income and the expenses were relatively stable. One of the items, and I think it's in April, let me take a look. No, it was in January. It's not shown on this slide, but in January, they paid the property taxes. You know what the realistic property taxes are. I'm going to get out my calculator because I'm going to say the property taxes were $21,647. I'm going to divide by the value of the building that they're selling it for, $1.9 million. And I come up with 1.1%. So the property taxes are about 1.1, 1.2% of the purchase price of this building. Now, in the month of January, when they paid the property taxes, I don't know if they had established a fund of money they set aside while they were collecting rents to pay the property taxes. But when the property taxes are added to that month's expenses of some $450, you've got a negative $10,000 a month of income in January, which means in January, not only did you not break even, it cost you $10,000 more than the rents you collected to operate the building. So this is the importance of setting aside reserves for repairs, reserves for your property taxes, reserves for things that you can't even anticipate. So that's the advantage of your operating statement. So we've got those two items to look at. Those are the crucial items in evaluating the finances of the building. Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
So much for our boring math lesson today.
Well, it's not boring, I tell you right now, because that's a lot of things that people are never told. And, they just go in. It's kind of like, going across the lake on a set of water skis, and your brother-in-law's up there, and he's had a few refreshments, shall I say, and the boat's pretty quick, and he wants to do
Maybe
the white
with a little
caps.
alcohol in them.
Yeah, in other words, he propped up to get it going, and he wants to hit the white caps going across the lake, and you're back there on the skis. So, then you got one or two choices. You either hang on for the ride or you let go. But this really does allow a person to understand, especially in business, facts. The old saying is that liars figure, but figures don't lie.
That's correct.
That's a good way of looking at it, because you want to make sure in any transaction that you're doing, whether you're buying a car, or you're buying, someone to put together a website for you, whatever, know exactly what you're getting for your money. And because if you don't spell it out, or if you don't ask questions, like one of the things that I always gets me is when I'm talking to a guy, and I'll especially guys, not gals, but guys are notorious for this. You ask them a question, and without even thinking, they just subconsciously respond, "No problem." And every time I hear those two words, "no problem," that sends off a red flag in my mind. Because 100% of the time when I hear "no problem," there's a train around the corner that's coming, and it's not going to stop for you. So when someone tells me "no problem," I just say, "Wait a minute. I know I got a problem." Because you've probably been in transactions like that, and you ask a guy a question you're kind of serious about, and he says, "Hey, no problem. Yeah, that's no problem," without even listening to your question or thinking about it.
Yeah. You know that you're not going to, it's one of two things. Either you're going to get something that will be of no value, or you're not going to get anything at all.
Yeah. And you're also dealing with someone that when the problem does come up, and it will come up, they're going to be, they got to stop and figure it out then. Or they got to find help, or they may not get it figured out. That's just some of the experience I've learned down the pathway of life. So when someone tells me "no problem," and if you hear the word "no problem," pull back on the mercy brake and say, "Wait a minute, we got to stop now, because I now have a problem."
Yeah. And it's funny, because I just used that recently when someone asked me for something. I said, I think it was something they wanted to do. And I said, "Hey, it's no problem." Now I remember what it was. It was something really simple. A lot of times, this is a little bit about email etiquette. I'm on an email list with a bunch of people that I went to elementary school with. We get together maybe every other month at least. And one of the people is going to be playing in a band locally, and he sent it out to the people on the email list that he was going to be playing on the band. And one of the people responded to him, "That's great. I hope to be there." Well, that's fine to tell the person who sent the email. You
Mhm.
don't need it for the other 30 people in the
Yeah.
email. And
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
get reply all. And
Yeah.
so just to that person, I sent an email saying, when you respond to the person who sent this email, I don't need to see your response. You don't need to hit reply all.
Mhm.
So he sent me back an email saying, I'm sorry, I won't do that again.
Yeah.
And that's when I responded, no problem. But this was something different. All I was saying is, don't worry about it. It's not a big
Yeah.
issue.
Yeah.
But for delivering something, no
Oh,
problem
yeah.
is inadequate.
It is not. It is not. And also, too, whenever someone pays you a compliment, or if they thank you for something, just say you're welcome. If they pay you a compliment, you like if I say, Rennie, man, you've just really done a great job with what you're doing, and just say thank you and let it go. Rather
That's
than,
it.
well, it hasn't been easy, Jim. Let me tell you. There's been days I felt like I was pushing a chain uphill, you know.
Yeah.
But
No, don't
yeah,
need
learn how
any
to
of that.
yeah, just learn how to say thank you and you're welcome and all that. Because when I say thank you to someone, one of my pet peeves in life is when they say no problem to me. Like, no problem, and just say you're welcome. I mean, it just I don't know. I'm an
Yeah.
old guy. I was brought up differently, and it's just words that people just say subconsciously without thinking. And in business, when guys are just focused, and I'm speaking about the men here now, women are a lot more attentive to what you're saying. They're much more
Yes.
in tune. But when you ask a question like, well, how would this work? He said, no problem. It'd work very smoothly or something. No, you didn't answer my question. You just blew it off because you're focused. Because I know he's focused on the dollar amount at the end of the shoot there, and you got to be careful with that because, especially when it's your money, it's going to cost you. If it's his
Exactly.
money, no problem. Then they'll say no problem, right?
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
goodness. So where
well,
were
I'm
we?
gonna provide a reminder of something that I said I would provide to people, and
Mhm,
it's the different formulas: the return on investment,
mhm.
internal rate of return, the cap rate, the gross rent multiplier, and NOI, the net operating income. I've got a little handy sheet which provides those very simple formulas,
Mhm.
and again, I'm just making that available to people if they want to have that all in one place.
Yeah. And they can go to your website and get in touch with you there. Wealth
Yes,
on
they
any
can.
income. There's
And what I'll do is, set up a landing page where they can download it and make life easy for them and for me rather than, you know, responding to 40, 50, or 100 different emails.
Yeah, I understand. I don't blame you a bit there because that way you can rest assured, folks, that Rennie's not interested in putting your name on an email list. If he's not interested to hear his classmate from elementary school respond about, he hopes he can make it, he's not interested in trying to chase after you. That's for sure. And in behind there, you see wealth on any income, 100% of the profits donated to charity. Again, I'd like for you to talk about this wonderful charity that saves two lives. And let me remove myself some so we can open up the entire screen there and I'll be right back.
Thank you, Jim. So right over here, you can see it says Shelter to Soldier, saving two lives at a time. And that's one of the charities that gets large donations from me. And what they do is they go to various places like dog shelters, and they look for dogs that have a certain personality, they're a certain size. These are dogs that want to please, and they're smart enough to be able to respond to commands. And these dogs will be trained as service animals for soldiers who've come back with traumatic brain injuries, post traumatic stress disorder, other issues. And unfortunately, our veterans who are allowing us to do what we do here in this country in the United States. They're serving overseas, they're putting their life on the line. They have some issues when they come back, and they're not properly addressed. And the suicide rate among these veterans is almost 1 an hour. It's about 20 a day. Not one veteran who's received their service dog has committed suicide. So this charity is saving 2 lives at a time, a dog that would have been euthanized and a soldier that might have otherwise committed suicide. So I'm just very honored. I'm very blessed to be able to donate 100% of the profits from the work I do to the charity Shelter to Soldier, along with other animal and veteran charities.
You know, it's really amazing. I've been wanting to ask you, how did you first find out about Shelter to Soldier? I mean, I know they're close, fairly close in your area there, but how did you find out about them?
It's kind of interesting. Both my wife and I are kind of charitably minded. And for many years, she was the chairperson of a division of Berkshire Hathaway's charitable foundation here in Los Angeles. So one of the board members found out about this charity called Shelter to Soldier. They brought it to my wife's attention. And my wife said, well, gee, I know we donate to animal causes. I know Rennie donates to animal causes and veteran causes. I think he'd be interested in this. And so she told me about it. And I met the founder of the charity. I met people who'd graduated and received their dogs. And I was just I think dogs are the greatest animals on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So here's a charity that's saving their lives and giving them a purpose that is keeping other people alive. And so, I just started giving money to them, and the more I gave, the better I felt. And, at this point, they're not getting any government support. So it's all volunteer work. It's all by donations. There's the upkeep for the dogs. There's the training for the dogs. There's the food for the dogs, the veterinary bills. It's housing the veteran while they're being trained with the dog, on and on and on. And they do this very cost effectively, where if you were to buy a fully trained dog, you're looking at $20,000 to $30,000 to $40,000. If you want a home security dog, you could be paying as much as $125,000 for a completely trained dog that'll get along with your family, but be ready to attack an intruder. They do all this training with the veteran, housing, food, all that, $15,000 per team.
That's amazing.
And it's over like a 1.5 year process. So they're very cost effective.
Absolutely. Yeah, because that's an amazing, that's a lot of money, for them to be able to save, because at $15,000 for that length of time, that's nothing. You're just keeping the lights on. You're just, keeping the dogs fed and everybody, you're just keeping everything alive. And I tell you, it's really amazing, because I was been involved with charities most of my life. And we went down to play for a charity. I'm not going to mention anything. And we'd raised a lot of money. When I say we, me and a bunch of other people collectively, we had raised a lot of money, and it came to our attention due to expenses. This one family, they were not able to go on this little excursion we were going to have. And so we figured, no problem. We'll go down and we'll talk to the director down there, the local director, and he explained the situation. And I said, all we really need is just, the cover the hotel room, the motel room, which wasn't that much money, about $250. And we had raised, quite a bit of money. It wasn't quite 100,000, but it was up there. Okay. And I said, well, they really need a van, a rental van for a week. So that's not that much money. And she let us know that they're not set up like that. She got up and her little ponytail wiggled as she went out and got in her BMW and drove off. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, is she just stiff us or what? And I mean, it's just, and that's when, I said, well, I can't do any more with that charity. I'm going to find a new outlet because, and that's what you found there with Shelter the Soldier, because they're focused on the soldier. They're focused on the cause. And that's a wonderful thing. And be sure and visit them and see some of the fine work they've done there. We've had them on the show several times, and we've really enjoyed it. And they're just wonderful, wonderful people. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, we're talking about buying the groceries and paying the rent and all those good things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and along those lines, because so much of our income comes from rental properties, housing people, the people who are paying the rent for their apartments.
right.
We also donate a lot to homeless shelters and people who are
Mhm,
struggling to have
mhm,
housing.
mhm,
And the reason I'm bringing that up right now is we've actually set up a GoFundMe page that I see scrolling across the
mhm,
bottom right now for a
mhm.
gal named Kyla Thompson. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Uh, Kyla is a 25-year-old mom. Her daughter is 5 years old. And about 3 years ago, she had another little girl. But last year, that little 2-year-old died in her sleep of a heart attack. She was born with some health
Mm.
issues. And Kyla was getting some money to support that little girl. And when the little girl died, that support stopped. But she'd given up her work to take care of the little girl 24/7. And then the money she was getting to support her, when that stopped, all of a sudden she found herself without a job and without a place to live.
Mm.
She was in and out of shelters with her 5-year-old daughter, halfway houses, motel vouchers. Bottom line is she was homeless. There was,
Yeah.
a couple times she had to sleep in her car because there were nowhere else to sleep. But this is a determined woman, 25 years old. I am amazed at how smart she is. She did a couple of years in culinary school. She started a nursing program. And now she just got a job to drive a city bus in Los Angeles.
Mm.
So she's back on her feet from the standpoint of having an income, but she doesn't have the money to make a down payment or deposit for an apartment. She didn't, she obviously gone through all her savings. We are supporting her at this point while she's going to nursing school and driving the bus.
Mhm.
And so we set up a GoFundMe account with the full story of Kyla's situation about this determined mom who deserves what I'll call a hand up, not a hand
Mm.
out.
There you go. That's when
And
you're really giving, is when you give a person a hand up, because notice she's going to the school and she's also driving a bus. So her being a single mom, she's got a full-time job. I mean, when does a poor lady sleep? When are you poor ladies out there, you single moms? When do you get a chance to sleep? When you're taking care of your family, you're working two jobs or going to school and working a job. My goodness. Uh, I got to salute you on that one. I mean, I really do. It's just amazing because it just takes so much commitment.
yeah,
It really does.
and then the things happen like the car she was using to drive DoorDash to make some extra money broke
Mhm.
down. And so I gave her my car to use.
Hmm.
And then when she enrolled in the nursing school and she was accepted in that, I bought her a laptop computer to
Hmm.
use. My
Hmm.
wife has paid the rent for her, paid the utilities for her, because this is a woman who deserves it. She is
Mhm.
going to be someone who will make a difference in the lives of other people when she graduates from her nursing studies and she
Mhm.
becomes an advocate for children like her daughter who passed away at age 2.
Hmm.
So
Oh
anyway,
my goodness.
so that's the link is passing by, scrolling by for the GoFundMe, and for the people who, I guess, Jim, you could explain this better than me. That download the program, you can stop the video and copy down the link.
Well, let's see here. I'm using my dynamic charm and my personality here, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but Anyway, what I'm doing here right now, ladies and gentlemen, just making a real quick little um, on the spot here correction, and you'll see it in about 30 seconds. So I'm gonna let Rennie go ahead and keep talking a little bit, and I'm gonna do something here.
Okay.
And
So what we're going to be talking about in future episodes, like we covered today, how to evaluate the property that you're going to buy. Well, if you end up buying a property like this, one of the first steps is you're going to sign um, an intent to purchase. Let's see. Gosh, I'm just really realizing at my age how common terms I used to use just
Mhm.
fall away.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Oh yeah.
so anyway, you're going to let it be known that you're interested in buying this building. Thank you. As I talk, the words come to me. Letter of intent, LOI. Oh, thank you for that slide,
What I did,
Jim.
folks, I had to copy that real quickly off a private chat. I had to go over to Canva, make a PDF, download it, upload it, side load it, and kick it in here. And while he was talking there, I was wiping sweat here, ladies and gentlemen. I was earning my keep. But
So
that's the young
hey,
lady's name, and that's the GoFundMe site right there. And it's a worthy cause.
yeah, any donations of any size are welcome. $10,
Hmm.
$100, it makes no difference.
Hmm.
But well, it
Exactly.
will make a difference to
To
Kyla.
her. Hmm.
Yes.
It sure will.
Thank you, Jim.
It sure will. Yeah, you're quite welcome.
So anyway, what I was trying to describe was an LOI, which stands for letter of intent. It's where you say what you want to pay for the building, and things of that nature. It does not lock you in. It just says, I intend to buy this building. It's my intention.
Mhm.
It's not my commitment. It's not my
Mhm.
promise. It's just my intention.
Mhm.
And so that starts the process.
Mhm.
Now, if you actually acquire this building, you go through the escrow process or you work with an attorney who handles the documents and you end up owning the building at the end of this process, which could be a month, 2, 3 months, 5 months, whatever it takes.
Mhm.
You're going to be requesting confirmation of that rent roll. As an
Mhm.
example, if someone says they're paying $1,400 a month, you have you get a form that's signed by the tenant acknowledging, yes, I'm actually paying $1,400 a month. Yes,
Mhm.
I actually provided a $1,000 deposit, which does get transferred to the new owner. Things of that are the items that are done either through escrow or through the
Mhm.
process if it's an attorney handling it.
Mhm.
In future
That's amazing.
episodes, yeah, once you've bought the building, now how do you find the tenants? If a vacancy occurs, how do you replace that
Mm.
tenant? Where do you market it? How do you phrase it? How do you make sure that that tenant is able to continue paying rent? How do you do the
Mhm.
credit check? Do they have a criminal background? These
Mm.
are some of the things that we're going to be covering. One of the most important, we could probably spend a full episode on it, is the lease agreement,
Mhm.
because you'll want to know what are the items that should be in your lease that protect you. Most
Mm.
states already have laws that protect the tenants, but
Mhm.
how do you protect your rights as the owner of the building? Because if they're
Oh
not
yeah.
paying rent, you can't make your mortgage payments. And if you
Mhm.
can't make your mortgage payment and the bank takes it away from you,
Mhm.
it's not a good thing.
Right.
So,
Exactly.
anyway, all I want to do is talk about some things that
Yeah.
we're going to be talking about in future episodes.
As you were saying that, I imagine, you didn't say it, but I know in you, it's in the back of your mind. If I came up to rent an apartment from you and you thought, well, Jim looks like he's an all right guy. And, you have to run background checks on me to protect your other tenants because your tenants are going to depend upon you not to bring in some, let's say that I've done time in prison for multiple murders. I don't think you'd want to put me in a family unit because think about the other tenants if they find out that I'm a, you know, mass murderer or something like that, even though I've got out on some technicality or whatever. I'm just using an extreme situation there. But I mean, that would cause a tenant, a good paying tenant, say, I'm worried about the security of my family. I think we better find another place to live because, in this case, Rennie let us down by letting Jim in there. And this guy, he seemed like he's all right, but you never know. He might just up and, the moon gets full. He might howl at the moon and mentally make the big escape one night. I mean, you never know. You just don't know. But
yes, and
you've got a heck of a commitment to your tenants.
You're
because they
absolutely
trust
right.
you.
And it could be and it doesn't even have to be that severe. It could be as small as having a requirement that our buildings, our properties are for non-smokers only. Now, that doesn't mean it's okay to, let's say, smoke on the sidewalk or only smoke once a day or not smoke in the apartment, but only smoke outdoors. No, it means you don't smoke. And I did have an experience where, I confirmed this information and the individual said he is a non-smoker. And what he meant to say by that was, I won't be smoking around the property. I'll only smoke inside my unit.
That's mighty Christian of him.
Yeah. The difficulty is the tenants on both sides were smelling cigarette smoke.
Yeah, that stuff, it reeks. It gets into curtains, into carpet.
Everywhere. Yeah, it gets, yeah.
I got to say
anyway.
that I smoked cigarettes back in the 60s and 70s. And, I quit around 73, I think it was, or something. And I did not realize how I was brought up around smoking. I mean, traveling somewhere in a car with my dad, in wintertime especially, and he's smoking a cigarette. He may have the window just, down to about a smidge. And I'd get headaches. And I never did. I didn't know any different. I really didn't. And of course, I knew better to talk back to my dad. That was usually, you learn pretty quickly. That's not the Einstein thing to do. And but when I quit smoking, ladies and gentlemen, in 73, because my wife had asthma, and I never smoked in the house, but I just give it up because she says I can still smell it around your hair. It gets in your hair, it gets in your clothes, if you smoke inside, it gets in the drapes, the carpets, and all that. But a smoker really doesn't sense that. Their senses are numbed, if that's a good way of putting it. But non-smokers, they pick up on it. And after I quit smoking, oh yeah, I mean it's an invisible cloud that just hits you right in the face when you're around a smoker. And I don't even want to be around because you can smell the smoke in their clothes and all. It's kind of like, I don't even, it's an offensive smell. It really is. And I'm not picking on smokers. I'm just saying that's just the way it is. I've heard other former smokers say that make the same comment as that.
Absolutely right. When you've given up smoking and your sense of smell returns to you.
Taste. Yeah.
Taste and everything. Yeah. When someone who's a smoker and it's in their hair and it's in their clothing and they get close to you, you can smell it.
Oh, yeah.
But when you're doing it, yes, you're oblivious to it.
You don't have a clue.
Yeah.
You just think as long as you don't blow smoke on someone, they're fine. And it's just, you don't realize how much it pollutes the air. And I'm kind of surprised because if you guys say, I want to smoke, and smoke inside the apartment and all that, well, that minimum case there, you're talking painting the walls and the ceiling and maybe shampooing the carpet can get it out. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Well, I do that for every new tenant anyway, if it has carpet. And a lot of our units have hardwood floors. But if there's carpet, it's either shampooed if it's in good shape. And if it's not in good shape, I actually have to replace it. And,
I understand.
we just do that. Every new
Mhm.
tenant gets a fully painted place, even if the person wasn't a smoker,
Yeah.
because the
Yeah.
furniture gets rubbed up against the walls and it nicks here and there. And, if they don't have a headboard and their
It's
greasy hair is against the wall,
yeah,
you just have
it's amazing too, because if the place looks nice, it really makes the person want to live there, because some of the places you go in to rent, I remember when I used to rent, you look at it and you go like, well, uh, this this place needs a little work, and it's a real huge deterrent.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because my wife and I have a certain standard. Her
Mhm.
standard's even higher than mine.
Oh yeah.
But the point being, I have people who come and take a look at our units and say, "Oh my gosh, this place is so nice. Do
Mhm.
you have any idea what the places that I've seen look like?" I say, "No, because I don't go out and see them." But I
Mhm.
hear that people are trying to rent places that don't look good at all, and I don't
Mhm.
understand it.
Mhm.
So anyway,
No.
we have standards. We
Mhm.
maintain those standards,
Mhm.
and we have happy tenants. They're taken care of. And one of the things that I say is I don't understand landlords who don't take care of their tenants.
Mhm.
These people are buying real estate for me.
Mhm.
Of course, I'm going to take care of them. Of course, I'm going to
Oh
take
yeah.
care of whatever they need. As an example, last week I had a tenant whose oven wasn't working.
Mhm.
And I took a look at the records. The stove was 15 years old. I said, I'm giving you the phone number of the place that is going to be installing a new stove for you. Give them a call and let them know when you're available to install a new stove.
Mhm.
I mean, within a day of her telling me it wasn't working, I'm just
Mhm.
sending a new stove, putting a new stove in there.
Mhm.
And this is how we take care of our tenants. This is why we're profitable. This is
Yeah.
why during the entire pandemic, 100% of our tenants paid 100% of their rent.
Mm.
And a landlord who doesn't care about their tenants have people who say, I don't have to pay. This is the
Mhm.
pandemic. Let the landlord sweat it. I don't care about him or her.
Mhm. Yeah.
We don't have
Because
those kind of tenants.
reputable people who rent places, they already know that getting something from a landlord to fix something or get something done, like if a stove is old and you're going to get a new stove, they know that they're going to, in some cases, they're going to be like a beggar to rich man's gate. Because I have been in one apartment in my life, and it was a slumlord. I mean, it wasn't that bad of a place, but I mean, the faucets were dripping, and I said, "Can you fix the drop?" Well, that's common. Yeah, actually, he had one word for it. He had one word that was snormal. Snormal?
Oh,
Snormal. That was his answer, snormal. And when you
oh,
when
got it. Because
when
he combined all sorts of "don't worry, that's normal" into
yeah,
"snormal."
snormal. Yeah. And when that happens, you're giving a crystal clear message to your tenants out there that you don't care about the property. So why should they? They don't even own it. You're the owner, you know? And so that would very much go hand in hand. Well, if it's the pandemic, I don't have to pay rent. Well, he don't care about it anyway. So even Stephen. But when they know that you will respond and fix a problem ASAP, and that problem will be. I mean, when you told her she's going to get a new stove, what was her attitude like?
Well, she was obviously very grateful. And she
Oh
said,
yeah.
I mean, it was funny too, because she said, Rennie, I don't need a new stove. I just need to know, that the oven works because I almost never even use the oven. So don't worry about it. That was
Hmm.
her comment. And so she was
Wow.
very grateful.
Hmm.
And I just thought, well, yeah, but someday you're going to move and I want to have a working stove and oven in there.
And to know that it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, that's amazing. It really is. I tell you. We got another slide here too, don't we? I think so. Didn't I upload or we go?
Let's see. I
Uh,
had,
uh,
yes, it was the one with the formulas that I offered people. The That one shows the
This
gross
one
rent
here.
multiplier,
Oh,
how to
okay.
calculate it, the net operating income.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, so
Mm-hmm.
that's what I will send to people with all the other
Mm.
formulas, the return on investment, the cap
Mm-hmm.
rate, and so on. And hopefully before this airs, I'll actually have a landing page so they can get it automatically and just download it.
Yeah. 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 Because this is a broadcast March the 20th. It'll be next week. And let's see, I cut that one there in, I had to split it because it was so big. Let me see what else I
Yeah.
have here.
Yep. There we go. There's the top of
Yeah,
the form.
that's the top of it. Okay.
Yeah. So I got the internal rate of return, the cap rate, the return on investment, and how
Mhm.
you calculate those things.
Yeah.
And we've reviewed where those numbers
Yeah.
come from that
Mhm.
the broker provides if you're actually interested in buying the building.
Hmm.
And I expressed an interest in buying this building. The broker sent the documents to me that I could review, do the calculations, and determine, would this be a good purchase? The other factors
Mhm.
obviously are, is this in a neighborhood where I would want to have a property and things of that
Mhm.
nature? So there's a lot of factors. At least these are the formulas you can look at the financial aspect of it.
Yeah, and from this here, you can determine whether you want to go to the next step.
Exactly.
Because if the numbers are not right, it doesn't matter, where it's at or whatever. Uh, if its numbers not right, it's just not right.
Yeah.
And
Now you can't rely on just the numbers, as we spoke about in the
Mhm.
previous episode. I was looking to buy a building, and
Mhm.
the person I was working with said, "Rennie, go take a look at this building." And I said, "Oh, I'd already seen that advertised on, I don't know, LoopNet or the multiple listing service or somewhere."
Mhm.
And when I calculated the numbers, it didn't make any sense to me. He said,
Mhm.
No, you need to come see the building, which I did, because the numbers didn't tell me how the owner was mismanaging it. He was
Mm.
charging like $700 a month rent for an 1,100 square foot New York style loft bedroom apartment, which I could
Mm.
easily have gotten $1,200 to $1,400 a month for.
Mm.
So when I saw the building and I looked at, this person isn't charging adequate rents at all, I
Mhm.
bought the building. And literally within a few months of doing some small remodeling, I doubled the rents on the entire building. It went from about
Wow.
60,000 a year to 120,000 a year instantly.
Mm. Mm.
So
And once again, before we go, we definitely want to mention this young lady's cause here again. Uh, this one right here for Kayla Thompson.
Kyla, yeah.
Kyla.
Kyla
Mhm.
Thompson. This is
Her
the gal who
GoFundMe.
is going to be driving a city bus. She's back on her feet from the
Mhm.
standpoint of getting away from being homeless. She's got
Mhm.
her 5-year-old daughter. She's going to nursing school. And my wife and I have already helped her to the tune of thousands of dollars. And we're looking to help support her in her school expenses, help support her in her living expenses with rent and utilities and clothing and the things like that, so that she is going to be able to contribute back to society when she
Mhm.
completes her nursing studies.
There you go. Well, that's amazing. It really is. And it just goes to show you that whenever you give to others, you're going to be blessed yourself, because there's an old thing that, the old saying, what goes around comes around, but also, too, you reap what you sow. Those are principles that have stood the test of time. And if you really have a giving heart and you're concerned about helping others, you will be supplied with what you need at the right time to be able to be a blessing to others. And that's all you have to focus on. You don't have to worry about staying up half the night trying to figure it out on your own, because I'll use myself as example so I don't offend anybody. I know I'm not that smart. And so therefore, we want to thank you so much for tuning in today. Rennie, thank you so much for being with us again today. We've really enjoyed it. And be sure and share all of this great information with others, especially about the young lady, Kayla. You know,
Kyla. Yeah.
yeah, Kyla. Yeah,
Yep.
he has Kyla and I have Gaia. So that kind of evens things out a little bit. But sincerely, Rennie, thank you so much. You'll be back with us next week, and we're going to be continuing on some things. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in, because we realize you could be watching any other show on some other channel. But thank you for spending time with us. Be sure and share this information with someone that you know could benefit from it. That's why we're here. We'll see you next week, same time, same station on this topic here. Have a good one. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.